opening prayer by Councilman Brehorst.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, thank you so much for all that was done for us. Thank you for this beautiful valley in which we live in and for the opportunity we have to be gathered together as citizens. Father, we'd ask thee that thou will temper the elements, that the snow will come off the mountains gradually, and that we'll be able to capture and use the water that thou hast provided. We ask and we pray that thou will continue to bless us with rain. We ask for thy Spirit to guide us and direct us and to help us make decisions based on what's best for the whole. And we ask and we pray for these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks, Ty. All right, we're going to move on to our approval of our agenda this evening. I have one little real quick before we approve it. Down in item 3, we had a typo. This should say Info West. On our last meeting, it said Info West. We just, for some reason, we had a TDS. It's not a big deal. We just need to change that to Info West for the franchise agreement. Also, Ash Creek Special Service District, they have nothing to report tonight. They had something else going on this evening, so they let me know today that they wouldn't be here this evening. So other than those 2 changes, I get an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, disclosure and declaration of conflict from anybody on the council and from me, the mayor. I have none. All right, we're good. We're gonna move on. We need to review possible approval of the meeting minutes from April 5th, April 19th, special meeting and regular meeting, April 24th, special meeting on the 24th. So we got 2 regular meetings and 2 special meetings.
Make a motion for the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, first, we've got a motion and a second. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, we have a presentation today by our lovely Afton Moore. She's going to give us the drought contingency plan from the district. I hear it's been changed a lot because we had some concerns on the first one, so let's have that presentation.
Yeah, so throughout the Water Conservancy District, they're obviously redoing the regional water supply agreement, but then also they're adding an element for a drought contingency plan to this. The regional water supply agreement already, it already makes mentions of what they do in a drought and how they handle that, but they wanted to put it into a formal document. And so on April 26th, they had the city managers come to a meeting at the district and present this PowerPoint that I'm going to show to you. This is a meeting, so drought contingency plan, they've been having a technical committee that is a waterworks group, and they've been going over there. Darren Lefevre has been going for the representative for Tokerville. And these very technical minds, public works directors, they've had engineers are in there, lots of different consultants attend, and obviously the water district. And they've come up with drought stages and the drought contingency plan of what they feel like we should be doing in a drought, what we should be doing before we get in a drought. And so it's just obviously all about conserving water and then actions to take when we do enter a drought. So Daisy, if you want to go to the first slide. This is the model that they're using, where the main thing that the takeaway from this is that obviously demand and supply, that the reservoir volume is weighted very heavy because our reservoirs have to stay full. And if our reservoirs are full, then depending on everything else based on that, if our reservoirs are full, then we have obviously, if we've got the storage, then we've got a lot more things that we can do in this plan. I'm going to show you in the next slide. So the whole goal is to keep the reservoirs full. That's the entire goal of this plan. But so the drought stage that we are currently in is drought stage 0, where we are abnormally dry. We have not had to take any actions other than conserving water. We haven't had to limit people from doing things. So if you go to the next slide, Daisy. So if you look at these stages, these are the 4 stages that will work. Well, 5 technically. We're in stage 0. So it's where in stage 0 where we are, we feel like we have it's normal. Everything is operating as normal. We have a sustainable supply. So what we're required to do is just conserve. When we enter stage 1, then we will be moving further into the abnormally dry. Caution, you can see there, when we have a prolonged drought in stage 2, it's concerned. Stage 3, they consider that a crisis, and stage 4 is catastrophic. And so, Daisy, if you'll go to the next one. So the water district hired some consultants to come in and evaluate what the technical committee had been doing, and add to that and run all the calculations and run the models and come up with stages and when we go into them and when we get out of them. So we had some concerns on the drought stages. We were questioning how do we get into it and how do we get out of it. So in the model, they've gone back and they've addressed that. And one of those things is that for the model, they'll run the model, and you have to be in the stage for 3 consecutive months to be considered fully in that stage. So we've been in stage 0 for at least 3 consecutive months. So yeah,
What's the highest stage that we've ever been?
we'll go into that. I'm gonna go through the whole plan.
All right.
And then, anyway, at that time, once we are gonna change this stage, once they run the model, they're running it monthly. Once they run the model, and it tells that we are entering into a drought, the technical advisory committee will make a recommendation to the administrative advisory committee, who will then make a recommendation to the board, and the board will make the decision to change the current drought stage. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts. So we'll move through a technical advisory, really addressing what's happening with the water and the storage, and then it will move to an administrative, so that we can start working on what ordinances would we need to put in place and what things would we need to do as a city to address the drought. Daisy, if you'll go to the next slide. So on here, there are certain things that they want the residents to do during that stage. There are certain things they would like municipalities to do. And then there are certain things that the water providers, basically meaning the district, would do. In the stage 0, there are things where they want us to encourage that. They want us to communicate our water consumption data. One of the ways that we are helping to do those and comply with that is that we're updating our water meters so we can communicate water consumption. There's an app that you can download with the new water meters that we're putting in. And so those are some of the things. Some of these things have to do with commercial, which we don't have yet. So the hotel laundry use, they don't really apply to us, but keep in mind that this is for all cities within the regional water supply agreement. So Dave's next slide. So this is the historical drought data that the model has kicked out, basically. And over the last 30 years, you can see the breakdown of what we've been in for each stage. And so, yeah, stage, you can see we've never actually been in stage 3 and 4. But stage 2 we have, but only about 9% of the time. So we mostly hang out in stage 0. Days, if you want to go, we go to the next slide.
So Athens, just
Yeah, you want to go back?
for clarification, in 1996,
We
there's
had
2 red
two.
that are 3s.
Yeah,
That's indicating stage 3, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, but they
They
actually.
were 3 months in a row.
Right.
Exactly.
You gotta have 3
which is the
months.
define, but I mean, even
Right,
at that,
exactly.
there's 2 months out of
All those years.
67 to 2022.
Yeah.
Right, so then Days, if you go to the next. And so, and then, so stage 1, this is what they would like us to do to try to reduce our irrigation of our public facilities and things like that, communicate them to the public, target, indoor conservation messaging to our high water users, nothing too drastic. And then if you go to stage 2, this is one where they're still kind of hammering out the details of this. And one of the concerns that we had is that we were like, we went back to the district and said, hey, is there a way, and at the city manager meeting, we said, is there a way that we can get more clarification about restrict construction water use and what that means, and some sort of a definition or what it is that you're thinking. And so they are working on that with us, but you can see in stage 2, reducing the public facilities, the irrigation, prohibiting misting systems, ornamental fountains, things like that, designing, or designating staff to try to enforce with and public outreach, maybe door hangers, some different things like that. So Dave, you'll go to the next. This one is the one where they consider that we are in a crisis. And this one has a lot more requirements of what they would, and I guess we say requirements, but what it really is requirements of municipalities to try to prohibit installation of grass, all of the things that you can see in there, irrigation of non-functional grass and things like that. On here, we had originally in this, it just said very straightforward, it said building moratorium. That was very concerning for not just us, but a lot of cities. we were like, wait a second, what does this mean? So you'll see on here where it says institute a temporary building moratorium. Again, we've never actually entered this stage, but at this point, they do feel like that would be something that would be necessary. And so, that was one thing that we've been in communication with them with. And then, is if you'll go to stage 4, which they consider catastrophic, this is, I mean, pretty straightforward, right? We're in the middle of a catastrophe. So eliminating that, prohibiting recreational aggressive enforcement, including water shutoffs. And again, not all of these things will apply to Tokerville, it's for all cities throughout that. So, Days, if you'll go to the next one. Oh, okay, well, the next one is just a list of all, which we can put back in your SharePoint. The next one, the next slide, on 12, is there one on?
We've got it here on
And
this
it
one.
just, okay, and it lists all of the, yeah, right there. This is just the input into the model. These are all of the places that they gather their information from. So how we're calculating that, running that model, and getting into and out of. There, one other point that they made was that all the rivers are weighted differently. And so that's taken into account in here, the flows of the rivers, like Virgin Rivers, different than Santa Clara, things like that. So this is basically the presentation. I just want to make sure that it has been before council. That's in your SharePoint. There's no action to take or anything. It's just to make you aware of what the district has been working on.
We don't need to adopt it, we just automatically.
It's just, yeah, it's just informational. They just wanted to make sure that all the cities are aware of what it is that they're working on and how they're working to address water and drought. So that's that.
Perfect. Is that your presentation? We're done there?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, we're going to move into department reports. We'll start with you, Merle, in the fire district.
Okay, last month in Tokerville, looks like they had 13 medical calls over this way and 1 fire call. So
Real fire or a alarm?
I don't know. It just gives me, I'm sure it's alarm would be my guess. I don't remember any big fires or anything. Then you just kind of wanted an update. We're continuing to stay busy. But this is our second rotation going to 4896 on my shift. Our first rotation of 4896, the first crews on their first 48 hours had 40 calls. So, and they spread those out pretty good
40 calls for all the whole fire district.
in 48 hours. Yeah.
How many stations is that?
There would be station 1, 2, 3, and then let's see, 6 and 9 up in Springdale. So 5 stations. Yeah. Yeah.
Per station on average.
Yeah.
for-
And
for
they
48
stay
hours.
pretty spread out. If not, somebody's going to backfill and come in.
Right. Okay.
Then on the second rotation, there was 28 calls in 48 hours. And then the last rotation, or the next rotation so all 3 crews going through it, they had 41.
Okay.
So it stayed busy, but everybody's enjoying it. I'll go off at 7 in the morning. It's been busy. We've had, I think we're on our 29th call now for the 2 days. So keeps us busy. We're actually, Station 1's trying to repair a roof. It's not a good day to take the shingles off the roof, but they're trying to repair a spot on the roof, but it's just the way it goes.
But the crews are happy. They're
Yeah,
enjoying.
everybody's happy, doing good. I actually text my crews we would have been going back on shift on Sunday after our 2 days off. Normally I text them all and I said, hey, y'all glad we're not going to work tomorrow? Got a lot of thumbs up. It feels good to actually be off and have a little bit of time. And because usually if you have a busy 24-hour shift, you go off for 1 day, it takes most of that day to get rested up, and then it's time to turn around and go to work again, for a 24. So unfortunately, if we could just get the night calls to go away, it'd be great, but unfortunately they don't.
You guys got to earn your money sometime.
Yeah. In fact, it was last night, the guys, I was there just before I left at 6 to head home, and I said to the guys, hey, enjoy your dinner. And one guy says, yeah, we'll start cooking here in just a second. I think they ate dinner at 10:30 that night. So, and I had lunch at 4:30 today. So
Good.
So yeah, we're not slowing down just because we changed our shifts.
Oh, I didn't think you'd slow down. I just
Good.
figured you guys would have more recuperation time with 4 days off. And
Yeah, the guys are enjoying. I haven't heard any complaints, and I don't think I will.
okay, thank you.
Matt, we're just keep going.
All right, appreciate it.
Oh, one question. I want to make sure we get that in our calendar. We're changing over to a different calendar or billing and stuff. We're going from ERS to ESO. It's just the ERS got bought out. That's where we do all our calendaring, shift calendar, and staffing, all that stuff. So, what was the time on the 4th of July that they wanted to have the rigs over here?
Parade on the 4th. I think it started.
Yeah, but I think you came later than the actual start time.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned it was about 10 o'clock. or
Parade was
so.
over. We were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying when they come down to the park. Was that about 10? Okay. All right, I'll put that in the old calendar and then change it over to the new calendar. So,
Yeah, I think 10 would be great. All right, Riker, do you have anything for planning and zoning this evening?
Nothing specific, but this next week I'll be attending the American Planners Association, and they're supposed to discuss some of the legislation that was passed in this last session and give some updates on
Where's that being held?
it. It'll be in Vernal, Utah.
That's too bad.
Oh, that's a fun drive. Enjoy that.
Yeah, especially at the airport, you just get in St. George to Vernal, but that doesn't happen. All right, Afton, we're back to you.
Okay, a couple of things. Just want to announce that we're going to have a budget hearing on 5/17. So we'll have a public hearing from that. We want to actually present a draft of the budget and some suggestions that we received that we're trying to incorporate in that. So we'll have a public hearing on the budget.
And that's just gonna be during regular city.
Yeah, just a normal city council meeting, yep. And then, we are still working on our general plan update. We are just getting the goals back from them, sending them back to them with the red lines. We're gonna, so within the next 30 days or so, we'll have a meeting with the committee to get feedback and see, what they think about the goals that have been crafted. One other thing I want to address is that the code enforcement for, I had another inquiry about vicious dogs. She was like, hey, it's been about 3 months since I talked to you. She said, I've tried to contact you guys a couple of times, like the mayor and that, over that. And I said, well, we've actually done updates in city council quite a few times, but I understand that not everybody can watch city council or attend. So anyway, I just scheduled a phone call with her to give her an update on that. But where we are with that, we are still working on getting our prosecutor. We're in the process of getting the prosecutor, criminalizing the code, and then after that, within about probably 60 days, we will put out an advertisement for code enforcement to do that. So that's really where we are with it. And we've got an ordinance that says that we can't have a vicious dog. There's not anything that says, oh, by the way, this is going to be this dollar amount of fine, and this is a Class B misdemeanor. So that's where we're working on.
Is it realistic to think we could be done in 90 days?
Well, I mean, if we get our prosecutor, I mean, we asked that question.
Is that real or is that not?
I got today the interlocal agreement from the county for the use of the Washington County Justice Court, which in my mind, we had to have the location to the prosecutions in place. I haven't reviewed it or anything like that, but it looked to me like it was about the same interlocal that I reviewed for Virgin and some of these others that use the county's justice court. So with that, then we should be in a situation where we can put out the RFP and retain and start going.
So there's that. The other thing, Jason, will you just pull that link for this? So since January, we have been working on getting a new website. Our website was lacking. It was difficult to use, and that we actually, Highland City had a really great, easy to use one. So we have this one. This is not active yet. This is just, I just want to show you where we are in the process. Sarah Beer has been doing an incredible job working with Civic Plus to get this updated. So you can see that across the top, it will have government, it will have a link to, everybody that is mayor and council, and then it will have our departments for the city. And and then all the services that we have, if you want to connect utilities or you want to do any sort of that. And then the development is going to be a super cool tab. So the development tab on this website is going to be an interactive map of the city with all of the development that's going on around, so that at a glance, you can you can pull down that map on a drop down, you can click on it and it will say. So if this was around the cemetery, it would say, this is the development, this is what it went through council, this is what it is. So it's a 60 lot subdivision, or it's a 20 lot subdivision, or whatever, it will have it around there. It will also have a link that will show the reservoir, that the reservoir is a Washington County Water Conservancy project. So it'll look like just a Google Earth map, but it'll have a development map so that you can click and know if we're building, what we're building by Anderson Junction. And by me saying what we're building, it'll have city projects on there, but it will also have developer projects. So you'll be able to tell at a glance if it's something the city is working on, or Westfield Park would be on there, those types of things. So the development tab, I think, is going to be a really cool thing. We did an integration of both what Highland City had and what Santa Clara had. Theirs is interactive like that. Developers have the option in Santa Clara to submit like drone footage of their site or things like that if they want an upload of that. So some of those will link to like a YouTube video of their drone footage of their site or conceptuals or things like that. So that's going to be a really exciting tab. Across the bottom, we feel like this will be super helpful for residents. We kind of tried to pick the main things that people call us about or try to get information about. And so obviously our agendas and meetings, applying for building permits, what our city code is, city notifications if they want to subscribe to those. We'll have a link to all of the events in the city. They can pay their bills online and then report an emergency. Days, if you want to just scroll down.
So Afton, with that, I know that multiple cities have procurement tabs on there where they'll advertise their projects. You can get plans. see
And that'll be
bid
under the development
So we'll have the
tab.
same option as well. Okay.
And then across the bottom, these are just stock, obviously stock images and stock things right there, but we'll add some of those links and things down here. And then days, the calendar of events. So this will have like when we're having public meetings, events in the city, and then it has it lined out for the week like this, but the full calendar, it's not happening, this is active. You can click the full calendar and it will go to the traditional, calendar and month and just have the circles over the dates. So this is just kind of where we are. Just wanted to present it to you. This should be live within the next few weeks. So
Can we get to the
that's where.
Hurricane Valley Fire District's burn permit real quick off of here again? I want to make sure we can do that. Get a burn permit. That's the easiest way to do it. I go to our webpage and hit burn permit.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we keep that on there.
Yeah, they will have, all those will be on there.
Okay.
Across the bottom.
That's
And
about it. That's about it. I got a burn permit. I
Yeah,
gotta go to
and Dave, do you want to just go to page 2 real quick of the site? This is just where we're gonna have tons of information about the city, what's going on, and then, so there you go. So
Looks
that's
nice.
just kind of
It looks really nice.
Yeah, there's been a lot of work. Sarah has been working tirelessly on the colors, on the website. She's gone back and forth 1,000 times. She probably has had enough of me on the red lines, but still. So anyway, so that's where we are. She's done an incredible job with them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, just those are just what I had for the
All right.
report.
How we looking on the backup generator?
Well, that's not in this fiscal year's budget.
It's not in the fiscal year.
Not
Okay.
yet, but I actually went to the League of Cities and Towns, and I went to emergency preparedness. And so the person that does it he's their city manager for South Jordan. I actually spent quite a bit of time with him. I got like the top 10 concerns that people are, he did it for Clearfield before. He's done it now for South Jordan, and he's done it at a very, very high level. And they are giving us their plan, but he's also going through the caveats of things that would not apply to our city and providing us with that for a basis for us to start. It was actually very interesting because one of the things that they had, I can actually just tell you real quick. When we went to this, he said interesting things. I'll just give you a quick rundown. And the backup generator is obviously important, and that's on there, but first we're gonna formulate the budget for it and then do it. But on there, it was interesting because they said the top concerns that Utah needs to have, number one is, this is the order that they rank in statewide. The top concerns for Utah is number one, hazardous chemicals and materials events, because of the amount of hazardous materials we have moving throughout the state. It's like people usually think it's flood or earthquake, it is not. It's actually, number one is hazardous chemicals and materials that move throughout our state. Number two, the highest catastrophic effect is earthquake. Number three was flooding. Number four is severe weather. Number five is a pandemic/epidemic. Number six, I was surprised, was fallen aircraft. And that's based on the fact that a lot of people here have airplanes, right? A lot of people have, we said, obviously between, between salting, right? I know, I thought But between
Little
Salt
direct.
Lake Airport, Vegas Airport, and Denver, we have a lot of, commercial and international, but then a lot of people just own their own aircraft.
One crash.
One crash, and you make the list.
One crash and you're a plane crasher. I mean,
Yeah, small aircraft. Number 7 is cyber attack. Number 6 is terrorism. I asked them what we could do. I asked them where the grid going down ranks on that schedule, ranks on that list. They said it's actually not on the list. And the reason why it's not on the list is because those are not things that you can actually mitigate, because they're either caused by sunfires or they're caused by, which is acts of terrorism, which is number 8, right? They're man-made. So they're down on the list. They said what we're actually addressing is what can we actually do? What can we actually mitigate? And then we look at the frequency and the likelihood. So the grid going down doesn't rank high on the list as far as frequency or likelihood. So that, I guess, would probably depend on that. Anyway, they've got some resources for disaster supply. They've got some other stuff, so food and water. But anyways, that's what it's gonna do.
That might be a
Emergency
good,
preparedness.
so after that might be a good practice for us as a city though, is to make our own list.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
going through that list, there's some stuff I'm like, probably not, but then there's some items on there that are lower that would be pretty high for us.
Yeah, exactly, with the flooding and things like that.
Oh, I thought it was terrorists, the
Another
terrorists.
thing that was really interesting, right? Another thing that was really interesting though, that we actually have already, like I met with Rachel and we've already put that in place. A couple things we have not had at city events, which we do, which there's like the new buzzword, right? Like we would just say it like, oh, lost kids. But they actually now, the new buzzwords, according to the state, are like guardian displaced children. We don't have any guardian. I was like, are you talking about lost kids? So we do have to have something at our 4th of July, right? Like we did not think about that last year. If somebody was a kid, we had information, but we didn't have anything that was like, you know.
Is that like the same as a lost and found?
Yeah.
Lost and
exactly.
found,
Your
lost
children.
kid.
So that was kind of interesting, and so just some things like
Guardian.
that. So that's where we are on emergency preparedness. We are actually allocating funds in next year's budget that happens in June and moving forward with the plan.
Mayor,
So-
I will not
Thank you.
flip any pancakes if we have to label it.
No, we will not, we will not
We're gonna
label it.
find something that's
We're gonna call it lost and found, or lost child, or information center, or bring your kids here if you've lost one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're not
We'll
finding
be the
that
same
stuff.
place where we get the tickets. You can just
Hide
look
your
at
parents.
it.
Yeah.
Who thinks these things up and then who
So
approves
that's,
them?
yeah, so that's, but that's an update for you, Todd.
I don't want to tell you, Sean, if I get in trouble. Attorney Snow, can you make it quicker than that?
Yeah, I can. I just want to tell you that attended planning commission and they're working hard. I think they reviewed 6 different ordinances that are coming back to them for final approval, public hearings, and recommendations to the council. So those are working hard. And like I had just indicated, I got today interlocal agreement from Washington County. We should be able to have that on the agenda, I'm guessing, for next meeting to approve our ability to utilize the Justice Court for prosecutions, which is kind of the first step. Then we retain our prosecutor, and he'll help us go through and figure out which items in our code to criminalize. So there'll be some adoption things, and then getting a code enforcement officer movie.
Could you use your microphone, please?
You bet. I sure will. So if council all heard, we should be able to get that moving along here quickly. So that's my update.
All right, thank you. All right, we're gonna move into our public forum portion of this meeting. So bring up any item you want, as long as it's not on the agenda this evening. You have 3 minutes, and if it's something we need to work on, we'll put it on the next meeting's agenda. So the public forum is now open. Hurry up, DC, because I'm about to close it.
My name is
You got 3 minutes.
DC Young from 1195 Southwest Bureau. I'm excited about the new website because maybe I'll actually be able to see a rendering of the new Westfield Park. Been waiting for that for a long time. And information is good. The fact that we could get an update on where things stand in the city that's kind of live and not just hearsay would be really nice. The real reason I'm here is I'm bringing up the issue about the Ash Bluff subdivision program that's coming on. I think you're going to approve the zoning change tonight for that. I brought up two changes, two things in the past.
Okay,
Uh,
on the
Doc-
agenda tonight.
I know, but I'm not gonna talk about that zoning thing. Let's talk about something. I brought up in the past that in the process of getting the Ash Bluff subdivision, we're losing a beautiful row of trees. And I think there needs to be something done, at least stated by the city council, that something needs to do to mitigate that. We need to do something to replace those trees and do it quickly. It takes 20 years to get a tree looking good. The other thing is, the access through the subdivision, to me, is still a problematic situation. And I'm still hoping that between the city council, someone can come up with a better solution than we have now about having to wind your way through a subdivision, making a couple of right and left turns to get to the cemetery, and that's the only road in, except for an emergency road. I'm just looking for a solution to that. The cemetery, to me, is a sterling situation of where we need to preserve our old town essence, and we're surrounding it with a brand new subdivision. We ought to do something about that. We ought to stand up and say something about that. If we're going to fight for our town, this is where to fight. Thank you.
Thank you, DC. Anybody else? All right, we're going to close this public forum and we're going to move on to business items. Letter G, first we're going to start item 1, G1, discuss the possible action on ordinance 2023 amending Tocqueville City's official zoning map to designate Washington Builders as having R115 single family resident zoning. So we're not actually approving this zone. We did this months and months and months ago. We just need to update the map to show that it's R115 zoning. So any questions on this?
So Mayor, just in the
Yes.
future, so that we're not coming back to this months later, is there a process that we make?
So just so you know that we will be, these will, if we have zone change on the agendas, it'll come through at the same time.
So it'll follow, but yeah.
So basically it'll just follow the zone change depending on the vote.
Zone change doesn't pass, and
Then it
the
just-
site gets tabled and.
Yes. See, that's a mute point, right, Keith? Yeah.
Perfect.
There you go.
I am.
I would move that we approve business G1, updating the official zoning map.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item G2, discuss possible action of sole source by Holbrook Asphalt HA5 product. Afton, I'm gonna let you have this one.
Okay. So this one, we had come to council with the sole source before, and we received direction to go out, talk to either other municipalities, talk to some different suppliers, and see what we could do. We reached out, we have talked to several other municipalities. I went to DTEC today, JD went with me. There's Ivans, Santa Clara, Washington City. They had all used the same supplier. We were considering using as a competitor. We did not receive a number back from that supplier, but Ivans, Santa Clara, and Washington City had all used them. Santa Clara was considering going with HA5, and then they went into a contract with Ivans to go with this other supplier. They had a couple of issues with that. They said that the issues that they reported, they said that they had trouble with the quantities and with the mix. They had trouble with it being spotty. They had some issues with their actual equipment and trucks breaking down, and so the contract was pushed back. So the feedback from those cities is that they would not repeat that. We met with the city of St. George.
Afton, was that with another contractor other than Holbrook Asphalt? Okay.
That was the competitor that we were considering.
Okay.
It's not an HA5 product, obviously.
Sure.
So with that, we met with Jay Sandberg. Jay Sandberg is an engineer for the city of St. George, one of their top engineers, head of their engineering services. And they sole source through HA5. I asked him kind of their top reasons, obviously the quality, the product, the customer service, and the price is comparable. So the
So
time frame.
real quick on prices, they actually just did our chip seal and they actually saved us quite a bit of money, didn't they? Holbrook
Yeah,
did.
and actually, Daisy, will you pull up that up there?
So
Because
maybe
I was.
So,
They didn't do a chip seal.
oh no, not chip seal, sorry.
Daisy, will you pull
It did crack seal, is that what it was?
Next one.
Yeah, my
So
apologies,
this
yes.
was their original estimate, and if you remember what we would be asking for on the sole source contract is this 110. So the top two numbers were the crack seal, and then this went through council, we approved the crack seal. That 19,000, it ended up not using that one, even though that was an expenditure. They were able to use our material that we already had on hand. And so that one came in at like 30. So that 19,000 ended up not even needing that and doing that. They were able to make our material work and do it, and it came in. So we had approved it, the 26th and the 19, and they ended up coming in for just the top numbers. So yeah, they came in obviously way under, and we're able to make it go way further. So the sole source contract would be for that we'd be asking is 109. So I would think probably realistically it would be 110, not to exceed. If you go back days to the map, so when we were talking to them, obviously the quality, the time frame, the product, the pricing, this is the map of what they're thinking. There are some things on here that are, Days, if you want to scroll down, go down one more. Yeah, okay, so right there. So even on that 109,000, I talked with Aaron at Holbrook. He said that one of those that's included in that is where they're using Westfield, obviously, as part of that haul road right there. So they would obviously hold off on that. So this would be a project that would go from April through September, October in there. And then we would have all of our major roads, and we'll have our crack seal down, we have all of the major roads that we need to have preservation or treatment. And then we'd be left with major reconstructions in our pavement preservation.
And
So,
those majors look to be basically Choya and then the section in Westfield's the middle road.
correct.
You got
Yeah, so that's kind of the information that we've come back with. We've identified funds in the budget. We've restricted funds already for maintenance projects that we're anticipating.
So I'm sorry, I'm listening, but I'm looking at the map as well. So they're going to do, this would be, they would do all the yellow and the blue.
They'd go, Daisy, if you can go back up real quick, it's the yellow in there. They would actually be doing the yellow on here, and then they would go, so you can see the legend right there. JD and you guys were now.
So I see
So
A
that-
is option one, HA5, B is option one, HA5. And
So
then
we
on
would be
C,
doing the
yeah.
yellow, and we'd be doing the yellow and the green.
Okay. It would not, it's not the blue.
Yeah, not
Not the blue.
Okay.
The price for 109 is not go beyond B.
Yeah, it'd be for the yellow and the green.
But from Grassy Lane to the end of the south end of Westfield, they're gonna hold off on that section
Till
until
they're
they're
done.
done using it as a haul road. There's no reason to do it and then
That would
tear
be
it
the
up.
last thing to
Okay.
do.
Perfect.
So we've identified the funds in the budget. I think we've complied with the talking to other cities, trying to get the information from them of why they would do it.
Right.
So,
What are we gonna do where it says discussion needed? The last one says no recommendations.
So that would be your,
Discussion mean,
so that would be your replace.
That's your road, Gary. That looks like
That would be your, that would be down in Choya Creek.
that's my road, but
I
looks
don't
like
know if
it.
that's, I don't know if that's correct, Aaron, because
I'm sorry,
no,
you're right.
that's
the one going up in the heights
yeah.
is
private.
as wide as well. Why is that wide?
What, yeah, and then we got the one on, just curious, the one in
We
Mountain
only
Charm.
asked- We only asked them to go as far as the red. That matches our capital facilities plan.
Correct.
Okay, I'm just
So
wondering.
like the plans that we currently have in place for streets in our capital facilities, this addresses those projects.
Okay.
Anything else? is
I see where you're
outside
asking
the
there, Gary.
It
I was
looks-
curious about that as
Well, it looks like Shangri-La too, going up Shangri-La.
Also, you can see that it's not going up Shangri-La. Well,
It's-
it's not from the Litchfield.
Right.
Right,
It's
right.
Fence is up. It's
Mhm.
from SR17. not
Yeah,
the
I
face.
see that. Yeah.
That's, it's just not.
It's just not in our
It's
capital
not
facilities.
capital, so we need to
We got to
amend that, get
go
that
through
put
it.
in.
Yeah,
talking
and
about-
it looks like Mountain Charm is not in our capital facilities all either. That's why it's white. So, okay, we'll amend that.
Okay.
Okay, so that's our sole source with Holbrook. And we have the budget, we have the money set aside through capital, and then some of our other money that we need to spend. So we have the funds set aside to do that. We are looking for a dollar amount of at least $110,000 tonight to be approved. So that's the motion I'm looking for.
Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the sole source for Holbrook asphalt not to exceed $110,000.
All right, I have a motion.
Second.
And second, do we have any further discussion on this motion? All right, this is a roll call vote. We're gonna start with you, Chuck, on the end over there.
Yay.
Yay.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have a unanimous approval of that. Perfect. We're gonna move on to business item G3, discuss the possible action on Info West City franchise agreement. So this is a franchise agreement saying that any customer that, any citizen of Tokerville would like to use Info West will come into town. They're gonna set up their internet system in town, and we can, if you wanna hook up to it, you can hook up to it. So nobody says you have to. You can use anything else. So they're just giving them the franchise agreement. Heath, would you add anything to that?
No, I reviewed the agreement, and we have both in your packet a redlined version and a clean version of this. I compared it against the other franchise agreements that we have. A franchise agreement is the right for a utility provider to be within our rights of way. Currently, in the kind of telecommunications arena, we have TDS, and now we'll have InfoWest. If we approve this, we wanted to make sure that there were a few things in there that so that it matched. I went back and looked. We reduced the length, the term of their agreement. They were proposing basically a 15-year term. We reduced it to a 10. The reason why you do that is so we'd have a right to relook at it at each time. We also put in language that the franchise fee that they pay the city is the telecommunications tax, and we've opted for the entire telecommunications tax. The maximum right now is 3.5%, but I did put in there, because I didn't like the language in 2.1, that in the event that the Utah Telecom Tax Act is amended to allow for a higher rate, that the franchise fee would automatically increase proportionally with it. We did put a few other things. One thing that is important that I've seen other cities, you don't want a provider like this to come in and cherry pick just new development. We want it to come across, and if they're going to build out their system through the town, we want them to. So we put in 4.4, provider shall build out the system not only in new areas of development, but also within existing subdivisions in the downtown area of the city. Provider shall also size the system during the design and build out stages.
Maybe scratch the downtown area, because there is subdivisions that are outside of the downtown that don't have fiber
Yeah.
as well.
Existing subdivisions is what
Within-
would be
yeah,
covered,
so-
and the downtown area of the city. So just any existing subdivision. It just, we don't want them to go out and come through the new parkway and only build out in Firelight, because it's low-lying fruit and not as expensive. Also, our preference is that new development, they go underground. You know, they have the right to use poles and stuff like that to get certain places, but the preference is in all new development, their system needs to be underground.
So if you put the poles, we don't own those poles. They have to obtain that from our
Yes.
power.
Yep.
Is that spelled out as well?
Mhm. Yeah,
It's not
it only
spelled.
says to the extent that we
It's
own the
city
pole,
poles.
city poles. This is the same thing we required of like TDS 4.10, the tree trimming. They have to comply with our tree ordinance. We don't want them topping trees and stuff like that. Also 411, they have to go into any new annexed area too if we annex. So those are the things that you're seeing in red that I've just added to try to make this franchise agreement match up and be parallel with other ones like that. But with that, I think it was actually pretty fairly well written and pretty mindful, and I guess for them putting it in front of us, to look at this one compared to what the first draft of what we saw from TDS, you can tell this comes from a local company versus a big national chain. It was definitely more palatable.
Will the same agreement apply to Info-West?
This is Info West.
West.
I know.
TDS is.
I made that change during the beginning of the meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Heath, let me ask a couple questions. Darren, maybe you can interject here. We've had a situation where we had a franchise agreement, and I only know it was in Choya, and I can't remember who it was with, but they tore up our asphalt, never said anything to the city. It stayed tore up for quite a while. We call them, no, as per our franchise agreement, we can do all those things without getting an encroachment permit. We don't have to notify the city, all of those type of things.
They're
And
required
it was
to.
quite a mess, and it took a while to get that done.
They're required to, under this agreement, comply with our ordinances for the opening of roads, meaning they have to have,
They have to fulfill the permit
they
application.
have to fill out permit application, everything like that. They contractually agree to indemnify and defend the city, replace any damage that they cause during the construction. All of those things, it's all in there.
Right now we have-
Also, they have a provision where they agree that if we need them to relocate their lines based on another provider having to go someplace else, that they will do it at the city's request.
So we're in a battle right now with UDOT because, and Rocky Mountain Power, right? It's through a franchise agreement where we're moving a road, but because we're moving the road and UDOT's not moving that road, and we're dealing with two entities, we're paying for that, where we shouldn't be. How are we covered with that type of situation?
So in here, I'm looking at in 4.2, it says that such relocation, removal, or reinstallation by the provider shall be at no requirement or no cost to the city, provided, however, that the provider and its successors may maintain and operate such facilities. So they will relocate, which is an important thing, and they will do it at no cost to the city. But they won't take a relocate request just from another utility provider. They have to involve and loop the city in. We have to say, yes, you need to relocate if there's like a conflict. And once we do that, they will relocate at their cost.
Todd, did you have something?
What do you have? We have, right now, we have TDS and Comcast and, or do you know? off the top of your head? Just
I
curious.
think the only franchise agreement we have is with TDS.
Yeah.
So then how do the other ones come in? They just,
Same process.
Same thing.
Yeah. So if you are a public utility, meaning that you're regulated by the Utah Public Utility Commission, then you have the right to be in our right of ways. That would be like Questar. They can go in.
okay.
Because they're they're almost like a quasi-governmental entity in the sense that they're regulated by the state of Utah. But a private company like InfoWest or TDS, they're not. So they have to come and acquire a
Okay.
franchise from us.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
What are the intentions with the Rocky Mountain power lines? I don't know that.
They have to, if they're going to be on someone else's pole, they're going to have to get permission to be on the pole. And if they have to compensate Rocky Mountain Power or something to that effect, then
They'll have to do
they'll have
that.
to deal with that. But again, our preference is sometimes it's like, might be, there's reasons if they need to go up above ground on a pole for a small span, but our preference is that everything, and we put it in there that it needs to be underground, especially in all new development where there'll be open trenches.
All right, I am looking for a motion on item 3. With InfoWest.
I move to go ahead and approve item 3, franchise agreement with InfoWest.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nay. Okay, 1 nay. All right, item G4, discuss the possible action on possible award of Westfield Park construction contract.
Mayor, I can take a minute on this.
Yes, please, and I'll get into it.
Let me just go back that. Well, you may want to go first.
Hey, DC wanted to see a picture.
You got this?
6. Probably the best.
And that's changed already, just,
So I'll just start with this. So we put the Westfield Park out to bid. This is the design. In the center is a pavilion. All of those hatch lines are going to be pavers that we that we're ordering that people did through the fundraising.
Yeah, the
So those are all
fundraiser.
new pavers with the ability to expand that as people would like to buy pavers, people who did work part of the fundraising. And you can see it shows both of our play areas. Those are both in place right now. Shows the restrooms. This is all at the top of it. And then we have the pickleball courts down at the end. So this is what was bid out on this. So the intent was, we had money set aside in the budget. We still have money set aside in the budget. We got an engineer's estimate for this project, which was far less than what we had had in the budget. And so we added a couple of things to it before we bid it out. One of those was a retaining wall that would be on the west side. We thought maybe a retaining wall and doing that. Well, we bid out the project, and when it came back at considerably higher than what was in the budget. And so we opened those bids. Those bids ranged from $396,000 to the high at the low. The high bid was $677,000. That had excluded landscape, the pavilion, and the restrooms, which we thought was just incredibly.
The tabulation item.
Yeah, so don't pull it,
Not the bid.
Yeah, don't pull
Oh,
the bid tab,
okay.
it's still open. And so
Sorry.
they ranged from 396 to 677. We had 4 bids on it, and so what we had to do, so that the ask for tonight is actually from staff, would be to not award this project because the bids came in higher than what we have in the budget. So we need to do some redesign. One of those options that we met with Alpha was about removing the retaining walls on the west side and just putting that about 8 feet back, putting a bunch of trees up there and then letting it slope naturally rather than doing the retaining walls. That would take a huge chunk out of what was bid. And then changing the pickleball courts to be post-tension. They were not post-tension in the bid.
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah.
And
What
also,
happened to our slip and slide?
slip and slide?
That's way there.
Or are you talking splash pad?
No,
Splash
slip
pad.
No,
and
that's,
slide.
we get rid of the retaining wall. We're gonna go back to a hill with a
Keep
slip
that
and slide.
slope.
Yes.
So that we can ice block as well.
Ice block.
Yes, ice blocking, slip and slide. The pickleball courts are actually gonna be rotated. There'll be 4 pickleball courts running north and south and not east and west. Because you can't play that in the evening and the morning because you're looking at the sun, one of you. So those, and the math, it's almost gonna be the exact same size, just rotate each court 90 degrees and run 4 side to side.
So Mayor,
So,
so if we take out some elements,
Yep.
eliminate, I mean, the concrete retaining wall was
That was-
$52,000 to $114,000. Is the intention to bid it back out, or are we gonna work through it in segments and say, hey, we're gonna bid out the pickleball courts? and we're gonna bid out
that's
this?
what you talk about.
So-
I personally, from my standpoint, I would love to bid out individual items and piecemeal it as we go. I just think we can save a bunch of money. That's me, that's my opinion. I hate paying people for babysitting, and I think we could do the babysitting ourselves, but that's,
So if we piecemeal it out, is there portions that our city works can perform? Do we have equipment, can do?
honestly, our city guys are so busy, I think we just sub individual pieces out. I don't know if I want to get the city guy. I know these
Yeah,
guys have a
the
ton of
issue is
work.
that the city is not a general contractor.
Right.
We don't have general liability insurance. We don't, so it would not be self-performed.
But what
Right.
we could do is we could put a bid out and do all the concrete work, and we could
Right.
bid out all the concrete work, we could bid out all the landscaping.
Yep.
Just as long as we're all under as long as we all are operating under, that we are not a general
Right,
contractor. So
exactly.
the city will not be self-performing in
Right.
construction of a park.
Right.
We won't have, our public works guys will not be the ones building the restroom.
Yep.
Just like our playground, we have playground inspectors or things like that, we actually hired people
To
come in,
install,
shade
yep.
structures, things like that. So we're not even asking for that right now. What we're asking for is a denial of awarding this. We're asking for that motion, and then just that we understand that we've got to go back to the drawing board for re-editing. Splash pads
money.
are more than the entire.
Money. We didn't get enough, the Campbells didn't donate enough money for the splash pad.
If we just put 2 pickleball courts and turn them the other direction, then we could actually get them on a slope without having, because if we do the pickleball courts in this fashion, we're gonna have a retention wall up on that.
Actually, that section of the park is so flat that
Because the existing neighbor has already done it.
already done a retaining wall. It's flat. That's a perfect spot for pickleball court. Yeah.
So, but we would, so we'd like to get this so that we can begin the redesign immediately and get this back out so we can start.
Yep. So we're just looking for we don't want to award it.
Mayor, well then, there's no action, right?
Right.
Well, you
I
have
would
to, you have to take action
I would just-
to not award.
Mayor, I move we
Right.
don't award this, it exceeds the budget, and send this back to staff for redesign with engineering teams.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this concludes our business meeting. I'd like to go over the calendar events.
And Mayor, before you jump into that, I want to give
Yes.
a quick little update, just so the council has some dates on their deal.
Absolutely.
On the Parkway, they have a scheduled pave date of June 15th to start on the north end and go down to the cut. And then there's gonna be a break right there and then pave from the cut down. That makes sense?
Which,
Where I call them pioneer markings, but it wasn't. It was where or Climans had written on those rocks.
oh,
for the
okay,
get
through the
that
big,
cut.
yeah.
Yeah, so just be aware that that date has been scheduled. They're working towards that.
And their completion date was July,
July something with the weather.
July
is.
1st. Okay.
So anyways, they do have a pay date scheduled, and I drove it today. The road base down, but you definitely see
It's looking nice.
they're getting close, and then they're in the process of testing, which is why they haven't paid yet.
Okay.
So, but that's being done. And then I think that's probably always gonna, staff, did we ever receive plans from Ash Bluff? Some of the stuff that was brought up today in the public forum. Do we have plans in-house on that yet?
On Ash Bluff, we do. We do
Finalized.
do a first review for the Joint Utility Committee. We have not received and there was substantial there. And we've got a few other things. Heath is in the process of going through the an agreement, a few things such as that. So there's,
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all I have.
Okay, anybody else have anything they'd like to report? All right, we have our first city neighborhood market on Saturday, May 20th, coming right up. Let's make sure we come out and support that. Memorial Day, May 29th. There will be a little program at the cemetery at 10 a.m. May 17th, which is our next city council meeting day, 5 p.m. We will have our Levi Savage monument dedication. So I don't know if you guys seen it out front, this concrete poured, it's looking very nice. So in 2 weeks, I'll have that already. We'll have a little program and then we'll come into city council. I would love it if you guys could show up, or do we need to post that as,
Yeah,
you know,
we'll just
okay.
post that the meeting will start, yeah. we'll
Start.
post a special.
If, you know, if you can make it great, if not, I understand. Yep, 17th.
It's right before our regular city council meeting, but at 5.
Yeah. We have 4th of July celebration coming up. It's a Tuesday, the 4th. We have a parade at 7, and then we go down to Center Street Park and have breakfast. The city council members, I believe, will be there cooking this year. Ty, I hope you can make it,
I'll be
not be
there.
at the lake.
Nope, I'm there.
So-
What time for us?
If we were there, if you showed up at, right after the parade, that'd be fine. I'll be down there early. We'll get stuff.
I was gonna say
4.
6 o'clock.
Rachel,
There's
yeah.
plenty to do.
4 a.m. for you, Gary.
Rachel will tell you.
Ty said
Yes.
6. Be there about 6.
So
There's
you're out
plenty
by-
of stuff to say.
Always stuff to do. I'll be there early.
Hey, Mayor, across the creek, can we
Yep, it's gonna be.
expend some time
Yep.
making
Cleaning.
something
He's got
there?
it on his list.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, JD.
Put a light shine on it, so it's
Yeah.
smooth.
Yeah, he already said, hey, I'm leaving Rachel, then want to come down here and look at this.
I love it.
We got
DC.
Have you contacted Jason Wade relative to being at the Levi Savage thing?
Rex Jensen is talked to the Savage family and someone will be here. Yeah, they've been discussing that. Whoever they've got coming, I'm sure the guy that ponied up the money for will be here. So,
I have talked to Jason Wade personally, and if the family agrees, he would love to be here.
okay. So,
It's gonna be a
yeah.
public event, but Rex Jensen is putting together the program. The city is gonna advertise it for them, but.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you find out that they haven't contacted Wade, I could do it.
And then we have the 24th of July celebration on Monday, July 24th. This is in conjunction with the LDS Church. I would like to make sure we keep advertising that. We get everybody involved on that as well.
So Mayor, after last year, we had quite a bit of conversation about how to orchestrate the 24th of July celebration. Where did we end as far as program and trying to do something different and better than what had been taking
Yeah,
place?
the church is, Rachel's already been working with them. She's got it handled. She's working with them to see what we're gonna do, what they've already got done, and then she's gonna report. So we'll know before the next city council
Okay.
meeting. where it
Wonderful.
is.
For the Memorial Day celebration and Thursday setting up the flags and stuff, we gotten updated veterans plots or a better veterans plot, so we know, because I know that was an issue for the wreaths
wreaths.
across America.
Yeah, Greg Turner went through all of those and he's done an incredible job. That is all mapped. They have all the flags and everything. We have asked if anybody wants to come and see, let us know on the list and we're adding to it. But we're pretty confident that we've got it
Updated, okay.
and got them all, yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, Greg Turner's done a ton of work on that.
All right, we unfortunately need to go into a closed session, so.
So moved.
Report on the phase B of the road.
It's not, you have to know, it's not on the-
DC, stick around, I'll tell you where we're at. It's awarded, and they're gonna get started in June.
In June.
In June. They just started.
Okay, we need to move into a motion, well, into a closed session for, it's not on there, pending litigation.
Mayor, I make a motion, we go into closed session, for discussion possible, well, not possible, action, for discussion of. It's not on there, for pending litigation and property land acquisition.
Yes, land acquisition. Okay, I have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're gonna take a 2-minute break.
2 minutes.
2-minute